Good morning, it's Joyce with Mommy Talk Show. This is Morning Josephine, where I sit here with my cup of coffee and give you my take on something that I've noticed or is going on. And I wanted to share something that's going on within my mommy circle of friends, is that I've noticed in the last month or so, I've heard from my friends that they have had the dilemma of firing their babysitter or finding a new childcare provider. I'm going to tell you really briefly about what happened to three moms and what action they decided to take. So first I'm going to tell you about Holly. Holly got an alarming phone call from the sheriff's department that the in-home childcare provider where she took her son was now under investigation for child abuse. Not abusing Holly's son, but abusing another little boy who was in her care. So Holly and her husband were faced with that immediate action of having to get their son out of that provider's care and then finding a backup plan. So she used a part-time babysitter to kind of fill in, and then Holly decided to hire a full-time babysitter who's going to come into her home and watch her child. And Holly is also looking into getting security cameras provided by her cable provider so she can peek in and check on her son while he's at home with the new babysitter. The second mom, Mary, is the mom of twin girls, and Mary was taking her children to a daycare provider at her job. So she was able to check in on them, pop in on them. She loved the convenience of that. But then she noticed not only had her twin girls, but other children at this employer-provided daycare had developed yeast infections because their diapers were not being changed often enough. So Mary was clearly very upset by this and wondering about the standards of care that her children were receiving. So she decided to withdraw them from that employer-provided daycare and then switch them to her husband's employer-provided daycare because they both have a long commute. And a lot of people, if they do have that convenience of bringing their children to work with them, they do like that. The third mom, Rhonda, took her child to in-home childcare provider, in-home babysitter, and noticed that when she picked him up, he had just gotten up from a nap and he had blood on his nose. He had had a nosebleed, but the babysitter hadn't noticed it or wiped it or tended to it in any way. And there were some other issues that her son was going on in terms of, just leaving mommy and daddy and having some, some attachment issues. So Rhonda, on the other hand, has decided not to fire her babysitter, but she is going to step up her level of checking in on that babysitter, unscheduled visits, unscheduled pickup times, to just see how things are going. So have you ever had the dilemma of having to fire a babysitter? What happened? Was it something as obvious as these moms are talking about, or was it some other things or dilemmas or questions that you had? I'd love to hear from you. I also share some resources right here below mommytalkshow.com to show you how you could do a background check on a babysitter, find babysitters that you can trust and keep them, and hopefully keep them and your family and your child happy. I'm Joyce Brewer with mommytalkshow.com. Thanks for tuning in for Morning Josephine. Hope you enjoy your coffee. See you soon.